Hello, hi. So I wanted to hop on and kind of talk through and I guess unpack a little something that I have seen, some different conversations that I've seen happening in kind of the social media space around womanhood. And so really the root of it that I've seen in my social media spheres and circles of people that I follow are the whole argument with black trans women being told by black cis women that they are not women. Now, they're also told that by men. However, I'm not addressing that element right now because it is rooted in other things than what could be possibly rooted in why black cis women are saying it. And so I'm speaking, one, as a black cis woman from my just direct life experience, and I am speaking about a group that I see women like myself oppressing. And oftentimes what I have learned as I've just begun to research and just really open my eyes to the different levels of privilege and oppression is that when a group is, oppressed and they find something that they think helps elevate them above that oppression, even though you cannot elevate yourself above oppression, the people oppressing you have to do that because they're the ones oppressing you. That's like someone having, their hand on your hand, stopping your hand from moving and then telling you, well, you just need to move your hand differently so that I can then let you go. That's not how that works. They would have to move their hand, i.e. stop oppressing you from being able to move your hand. So therefore, there is nothing that cis black women can do to stop people from oppressing us who are. I want to say that because the respectability politics, which is really that as a group that's being oppressed, that you can change your behaviors, your attitudes, your actions, your appearance in order to stop the person from oppressing you. That's not how that works. So with that being said, cis black women oppressing black trans women or trans black women, there's nothing that black trans women can do to change themselves for cis black women to stop oppressing them. And so I want to unpack why I'm seeing some of the things that are happening to and how cis black women are engaging and participating in the oppression and transphobia that is related to what black trans women experience as a part of their lived experience. Now, I cannot and will not and shall not and have no intention of speaking for the lived experience of a trans woman, a black trans woman, anyone in the LGBTQIA plus community, because I do not. That is not a community in which I live. That is a community which I work to be an ally of, and at some point when they if people within that community decide that my allyship is worthy of referring to me as an ally, I will appreciate that. Until then, I am just going to work to educate myself and people who I am in community with about what I'm learning, which is what I want to do here. So the one thing I want to address, Kim Foster of For Harriet was having she's been doing a lot of conversations about this and has really been skewered on Twitter by people who are very transphobic and like really been skewered to the point of it's like, this is ridiculous. It's not just about differences of opinion. You are actively attacking this woman based on something that she is unpacking and talking through and kind of calling out. And so I think that is trash, but I appreciate the thoughtfulness in which she engages in this conversation. And I know that she has, researched and read up on it because she either does it and talks about what she's read, or she has actively interviewed members of the community, of the trans community, of the LGBTQIA plus community about their lived experiences. So she is actively doing the work. One of the things that she said in conversation was that cis black women policing the femininity and womanhood of trans black women is a result of a white supremacy. And so I was thinking about that. I was kind of mulling it around. And so I want to talk through my thoughts. So what I thought was, when she said that, it rang true. It made sense to me. It wasn't something that I immediately pushed back on. But I was thinking how do you connect those dots? And so I wanted to talk through the connecting of those dots. So let's start with what the feminine ideal feminine beauty is as it relates to America. I'm speaking from the experience of, as a cis black woman who has been born and raised and whose lived experiences in America. Yes, I have traveled to other countries. However, I cannot speak to the lived experience of those countries because I haven't lived there. I've just traveled there and I've visited there and learned in my visits, but did not live there. So these things that I say might apply to other countries and continents and cultures, but it might not. And I want to acknowledge that. So the reason why this really struck me is because in America, what we have been fed as the ideal beauty is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman. That is what we are fed. Now, there are, beauty's a spectrum, and even being fed that ideal, we still have, there's a spectrum of that. So you can be, a dark-haired white woman. You can be, a red-haired white woman. Like, you can be different variations, but ultimately the ideal of beauty is centered around a white woman. As it relates to feminine beauty, it's around a white woman. That is what we have been fed as an ideal in the United States, in America. Now, we are in a time, and there's always been pushback on that as you have different types of women begin to understand and appreciate their own beauty and then look for ways to represent themselves as fully as possible. However, societally, in the structures and things that support beliefs and behaviors as it relates to America, you are positively affected if you can assimilate as closely as possible to that white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed ideal, white woman, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white woman ideal of feminine beauty. Which means in the black community, because I can speak very directly to the black community as a part of the black community, that shows itself through things like colorism, which is, the closer you are to that ideal, the more appealing and attractive you are societally. This doesn't mean that individual groups might not find you attractive. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying society-wise. And the reason why, and so this is how, in the black community, how this begins to show up. And so you have women who have really taken that as a mantle and want to help push this idea of being the supreme femininity, being in womanhood. And they are, that's a campaign of theirs. They want to show, you can be beautiful, you can be feminine, you can be an ideal woman. But oftentimes the ideal that they're striving for is a version of the white supremacist ideal of the ideal feminine beauty being a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman of a certain size. Of course, you have to have a smaller body. You have to present in a very demure way. Like, this is what is being kind of what people are, aspiring to on different levels in different ways. It doesn't present the same in everyone, but the framework that it's working towards is, which is essentially why white supremacy is structural. It's not just a person being racist and being disrespectful and kind of holding down womanhood and what that means. It is a structure. So you are positively affected society-wise. You might get more opportunities. You might find yourself considered desirable by the people that you choose to date. So I'm saying cis black women, but this can also apply to women who also date women, but the kind of women who might find that whole feminine ideal femininity attractive. So that's who you as far as how your orientation. I'm trying to think of I will make sure I use the proper words and speak respectfully. So if you are in a place where your potential partner is demanding of that level of feminine ideal beauty, then if you fit that as close as possible, then you are positively impacted. That means you have, more people wanting to be with you. You can sometimes get better jobs. You can sometimes get opportunity that people who do not fit that ideal do not get. And so that is the white supremacist root of it. And so if you are policing the womanhood and femininity of trans women, especially trans black women, who are definitely being not only oppressed but actively murdered, like actively. Like it is sad, ridiculous, and very upsetting when you just see how many, and these are the murders that we are aware of. These are not the murders that we don't hear about, that don't make it to the national news, because not all of them are in our local city, they're in different cities. And so if you're doing that as a Black woman, you are oppressing trans Black women. And you cannot with a straight face support and say you are for any type of movement to uplift the Black community if it does not include Black trans women. You just can't. Really, Black trans people, but again, I'm speaking specifically about Black trans women, and what Black cis women are doing to Black trans women as it relates to questioning their womanhood and their femininity. You are essentially doing what everyone does to us. The beauty and femininity of Black women does not easily fit into the ideal that is placed upon us through white supremacy. It just does not, because Black women by nature and by like who we are not gonna be blonde haired, blue eyed, or white because we're Black. And so if you are trying to reach that white supremacist beauty ideal, more power to you. If you are using that ideal to tell other women that they are not women, that's not okay. That's not okay. That's not supportive. And you cannot walk around talking about you support women if you don't support all women. And trans women are women. So they're not trans women, they're just women. And they're women who live and breathe, and in their lived experience as it relates to femininity and womanhood may look different from yours, or it may not, because we all live, and just like there's a range of beauty, just like beauty is a spectrum and people tend to line up where they feel most comfortable, the same thing goes for femininity. You don't have to wear dresses and makeup to be feminine. You can. You don't have to. And so if we're going to insist on existing in a very narrow spectrum of femininity and womanhood, then we need to interrogate why we're doing that. And a lot of times we're doing that because we're basing our femininity and our womanhood on either white supremacy, so that blonde-haired, blue-eyed ideal that a lot of us have been fed, or we're basing it off of patriarchy. And I can talk about patriarchy in another video because that's a whole other time slot, and I don't want this to get too long. But I just wanted to unpack that, and it wasn't my goal for this was not to have a solve, but it was really just to kind of talk through it and encourage my fellow Black cis Black women that consider themselves pro-woman and want all women to succeed. If that's the case and that's who you are, then you need to expand your idea of womanhood. If not, then you are not for all women. You're only for women who look like you, or who look like the ideal that you hope to become. And if that's the case, then stop saying you're pro-woman, because you're not. Trans women are women. They are women with a different lived experience of femininity and womanhood. They are women who have to deal with and overcome things that us cis Black women do not. Does that mean that we're living high off the hog and they're not? Or that there's somehow, us, I'm trying to think of the best way to say that, them succeeding, them being successful, prosperous, and thriving does nothing to diminish us. Me seeing beautiful women of all types and all lived experiences, I can be in a room full of beautiful women of all kinds. It does nothing to diminish my beauty. If anything, like recognizes like. And when you put, a light bulb that's dimly shining next to a light bulb that's brightly shining, the room is still brighter and everyone is better for it. So policing the femininity and womanhood of other women is a waste of time, because really what we need to be doing is coming together and then figuring out how to dismantle this patriarchy nonsense, because that's next. So I hope that this, I do want to start a dialogue. I will not accept, respect, or receive negativity, anger, and word violence in my comments. If I see that, you will be blocked. You will not be blessed. You'll just be blocked. I do not accept small-mindedness and ignorance and disrespect. If I see that, you will be blocked. You will not be blessed. You will just be blocked. But I do want to have a dialogue, especially amongst my fellow cis black women, so that we can get to a place of respect and calm and quiet as it relates to trans women and their experience and their womanhood. So then we can come together and be the force that we are supposed to be, because we all, right now, a lot of times we all we got. So we have to hold each other up until we are at a point where we ain't all we got and we got some more support. So that is my thoughts on black women, all forms of womanhood, regardless if you are a cis black woman, if you are a queer black woman, if you are a trans black woman, if you are non-binary and your pronouns include she or her or hers in any way. We are all women and we all need to support each other through this life. I look forward to seeing your comments. I'm interested in seeing how this is gonna go. And if you would like for me to do a similar conversation about patriarchy and how that affects us as women, comment and let me know. And I might have to do a little reading to framework my thoughts, but I'm down with that. Bye.